तं रसमालयं मुहुरहोरसिका भुवि भावुकाः प्रायेणाल्पायुषः सभ्ये कलौ अस्मिन् युगे जनाः मन्दासु मन्दमदयो मन्दभाग्या हि उपाहृतः. हरे कृष्ण माताजी. थैंक यू माताजी.
Thank you. Over to you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhus and Matajis. Welcome to our today's session of Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us start with the invocation mantra. Hope my voice is audible. Okay. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalaakayam Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurube Namaha Nigamakалпатароргалитам Phalam Sukhamukhatamrita Dravasamyutam Vipata Bhavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaham Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayam Budhirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavati Vasudevaya. करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्. Hare Krishna. So we are in the chapter of Lord Bhishma Deva's last moment. He is passing away in the presence of Lord Krishna. And today's verse we have to start from text 30. Such a wonderful, important verses today. 1.9.30. Who wants to recite, Mataji? Can anybody volunteer? Dhanashri Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, yeah.
Text 30. तदोपसंहृत्य गिरः सहस्रणी विमुक्त संग मन आदि पुरुषे कृष्णे लसत्पीतपटे चतुर्भुजे पुरस्थिते मिलित द्रव्य धारय. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Can anyone continue with the translation? Sindhu Mataji, do you want to read?
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Pranams.
Pranams, Mataji. Yeah, please.
Text 30, translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thereupon that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings and who fought on thousands of battlefields and protected thousands of men stopped speaking and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined.
Thank you, Mataji. So, everybody has to cross through this session. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Whoever is taking birth in this material world, surely the death is waiting for every living entity. Here, the great devotee, the great warrior, and he knows, well versed in all the subjects, he is going to leave his body. He is in the deathbed. And all this time he was actually speaking about the different subject matters to whom? Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yeah. And when he realized that the Uttarayana period is started, immediately he wants to actually withdrew his mind from everything. So from this line, we can understand that he is actually under, he actually controlled his senses and mind very perfectly, even in his deathbed. And not in the normal deathbed, the arrows, bed of arrows. So we can actually understand little that how much pain he undergoes when he was actually lying on the bed of arrows. And in the Mahabharata, it is given that in between, the distance between the two arrows is less than actually 2 inches. So how much arrows are actually pointed his body. So he's such a powerful man. And now he is actually withdrew his mind from everything else and fixed his wide open eyes to the personality of Godhead. And another great thing is in the Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that Antakalecha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram, 8.5. See, Prabhupada in the purport, he quoted from 8.5 to 15. So these verses actually shows us how one has to leave the body. The Shastra shows that how to actually live our life and how we have to leave this material world, this material body. So, yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram. Why we have to actually think about the leaving of body? Let us actually live happily. There are a lot of groups, they are actually doing this message or spreading this message that during our lifetime, this lifetime is given for us for happy living. And everybody is seeking happiness. So let us actually live according to our mind and senses content. Yeah, this body is given and everybody is seeking the happiness. Nobody actually disagrees. No, everybody is seeking happiness. But the Shastras say that where the real happiness resides. Okay. The real happiness is doing the real allocated duty of our soul. We are not this body. That's why in the second chapter itself, it's telling that we are not this body. We all are split soul. So the body will be here. Whatever work we actually done for the soul will take the result of that work. So the soul carries the result of our work. So how much ever we feed it nicely the soul will take all those positive things with us. If you are doing lot of things to the body, then we are the loser. So even though actually he has all the material knowledge, he is actually well versed in all the subject matters, a great warrior as per Varnashrama Dharma, still he is a successful great devotee of the Lord. He is one of the Mahajanas. So, how the Shastras say that he is a Mahajana? The question will come. How can we actually consider Bhisma as a Mahajana? Because he fought against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was in the opposite side. Then how we can actually consider him as Mahajana? Because of this quality. One cannot immediately remember the Lord at the time of our death. Whatever we practiced, whatever the importance we have given throughout our life, all those memories will register in our subconscious, inner conscious. So when we are at the time of death, means in our last minute, all those things, whatever actually registered in our inner mind, that will come out. Some may have the desire that they want to have delicious food. Eating is their first priority. We may actually experience, because at the end of their time, when the people ask that what is your desire, they may ask some delicious food. Have any of you actually heard about this?
Yes, Mataji.
Oh, okay. Because they are actually they want to have that food. And they very much attached to the varieties. So at the end of life, they will lose this. And what the others will think, okay, he has only this much desire. What a good soul. He doesn't have that big desire. Only food, only his desire. So he can actually leave his body peacefully. But that is not the right thing. What should be in our mind? It's nicely depicted in this verse. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kauteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever is in our mind when we are quitting our body, the soul will take the next body accordingly, according to our thinking. Okay. And the Lord recommended the 8th chapter, the title of the 8th chapter is Attaining the Supreme. The goal of our life is, the ultimate goal is back home, back to Godhead. If you want to actually achieve that goal, then first thing is, whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains me. There is no doubt in that. So the Lord is giving a guarantee. Whoever actually thinking about the Lord. In this verse, it is mentioned that the Lord actually present in front of Bhishma Deva. Okay. So if we close our eyes, actually while chanting also, it is recommended that we have to think about the name, form, quality of the Lord. So how many of us are actually achieved that quality? Can anyone try? Yeah, whenever I am chanting, I am doing this perfectly. Can we say? We are trying to do, but our mind is so strong, it travels everywhere throughout the world, especially when we are chanting. It's difficult to control our mind, even Arjuna says. So, even during chanting, it is difficult to control. So, what about at the end time or at the time of our death? So, another thing is, we should actually practice this meditation. Whatever work we are doing throughout the day, we should always chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is a very simple method. This is a very simple practice. Okay. We can chant Hare Krishna mantra throughout the day. So by chanting, automatically the name of the Lord is transcendental. So it actually purifies our anarthas. Then automatically the form of the Lord will remain in our mind. And even it is recommended that when we are worshipping the Lord in front of the deities, we should not close our eyes. We should actually widely open our eyes. Here it is given that the Lord actually present in front of Bhishma Deva. If we have a practice that always when we are worshipping the Lord, we should actually, some people they used to do, no? When they are actually in the front of the Lord, means in the deity, they will actually close their eyes and pray to the Lord. But we shouldn't do that. We should always open the eyes, widely open the eyes, and actually relish the gorgeous decoration and the form of the Lord very nicely. We can actually see different forms of the Lord. It doesn't matter. And if you're focusing on one form of the Lord, that also not a problem. But the thing is, we should always nicely see the form of the Lord. The eyes are given for that purpose. So we should not close our eyes when we are actually worshipping the Lord. So this also actually helps us to remember the Lord at the time of leaving. Okay. So another thing is, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body. So why it is important? Otherwise, we will get the senses will dominate and we will get different type of body according to the desire of our senses. So in the seventh verse, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time, you have to do your prescribed duty of fighting. So it doesn't mean that we have to actually reject or ignore all our duties and sit in the secluded place and think about the Lord always. No, that is not recommended. He clearly says that whatever work you are doing, whatever responsibilities you have, whatever the committed works you are doing, during your work, please remember me in this form. He who meditates on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in the undeviated from the path. See, it's automatically the mind will engage in the form of the Lord. So if we practice like that, then we won't be actually deviated from the path of devotion. And automatically, it will actually help us to reach the right destination. Okay. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything. So, how can we meditate Supreme, the personality of Godhead? If we know the person perfectly, if we know his transcendental qualities, if we have a strong faith on the Lord, then automatically we will remember the Lord. So, these are the helping factors to remember the Lord. So for that, we have to actually read and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam gives the elaborate description of his pastimes with the devotees and his form. So we should actually always connect ourselves with Srimad Bhagavatam. So that will help us to develop our faith and remember the form of the Lord. Okay. One who at the time of death fixes his life here between the eyebrows. This is actually recommended for yogis in Ashtanga Yoga. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that one who is actually practicing yoga, they have to actually fix their life here between the eyebrows and they have to concentrate on the Paramatma form. So this is for yogis. And the 11th verse says that persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in the renounced order enter into the Brahman. So this is for again Brahman realization. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. So these are actually recommended for Brahman realization. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements. That Ashtanga Yoga actually starts from Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara. So it starts with controlling our mind and senses. Okay, so this is for yogis again. After being situated in the yoga practice, the vibrating sacred syllable Om. So they will concentrate their mind on Paramatma. Okay. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha. So what is given here? For one who remembers me without deviation. First, we should have a desire to remember the Lord throughout our life. Then automatically the Lord will give the remembrance to us at the time of our death. The 15.15 says that, what is that sloka? It's a very famous sloka. Yeah.
सर्वस्याहं हृदितलं विश्वं वेदैश्च सर्वे
अहमेव वेदान्तकृतविदेव
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. He is the one giving knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness also. So, which one is important? First, we should have a desire to remember the Lord. That desire won't come immediately. Like in the beginning, we discussed about the sweet. If a person actually have a strong desire to taste or fond of sweets, then at the end of his life, automatically he wants to enjoy the taste of that sweet. Similarly, if we have a strong desire to see the form of the Lord, if we have a strong desire to remember the Lord, then by the mercy of the Lord, at the end of our life, the Lord actually may sanction our desire. So one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain. He is readily give that appearance because of his constant engagement in devotional service. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world. So another guarantee is given. Once we actually reach the Vaikuntha, they won't actually come back. Can anyone say what is that sloka? where it is given?
Antakale Chamamiva Mataji.
No. Whoever returned to my abode, they won't come back.
Abrahma
Brahma
Bhuvana
Bhuvana.
Lokam
Brahma Bhuvana Loka.
Punaravartino Arjuna. Yeah.
Mamupetyada Punarjanma.
Mam upethyat kaunteya.
Kaunteya Punarjanma.
Punarjanmana vidyate.
Yeah, there is no rebirth again. They need not to come back again to this material world full of miseries. So, the guarantee is given by the Lord Himself. Sri Bhishma Deva attained the perfection of fitting his body at will and was fortunate enough to have Lord Krishna the object of his attention. So, again, the boon is given. So, Bhishma had that boon. Whenever he wants, he can leave his body. So he wants to actually leave his body on this particular time, Uttarayana. Uttarayana indicates the traveling of sun towards north. So it indicates actually the daytime of the demigods. Daytime means we all know that the lighting, the light, okay? The light path, whoever actually leaves this body on this light, they will actually go to the upper planetary systems. So the yogis and jnanis and those who are actually familiar about these Vedic scriptures, they want to actually, those who want to actually enjoy the upper planet, those who want to go to the demigod's place, so they all will actually leave this body during this time, Uttarayana. So this Uttarayana is the positive sign of leaving this body. And he specifically chosen this Uttarayana time. And what is his desire? He wants to actually see the Lord in the Parthasarathi form. Okay. So the Lord also actually present in the four-handed form. That is also given, Chaturbuja. He therefore fixed his open eyes upon him. He didn't close his eyes. He just widely opened and seeing the Lord fully. He wanted to see Krishna for a long time out of his spontaneous love for him. So, when will we actually get the mood of seeing the Lord fully? That with love and affection. If we have love and affection, then automatically our eyes won't get tired. Like gopis, they said no, they actually cursed Brahma. For what? He created this eyelid. Because of the eyelid, I have to close every second. So that is actually restricting the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they are actually blaming Brahma. Because he was a pure devotee, he had very little to do with the detailed performance of yogic principles. So actually, a pure devotee need not to follow all these yogic principles. Simple thing is just to remember the Lord at the time of leaving. That is important. Okay, he need not to follow. Here, Prabhupada recommended that simple bhakti yoga is enough to bring about perfection. Therefore, the ardent desire of Bhishma Deva was to see the person of Lord Krishna, the most lovable object. And by the grace of the Lord, Sri Bhishma Deva had this opportunity at the last stage of his breathing. Vishaya vinivartande niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartade. Our senses are so strong, it will actually attracted by different material objects. Okay, even though we are actually artificially control our senses, the taste of enjoyment will remain within us. If you're artificially trying to control our senses, what will happen? Our mind is also one of the material object. So what to say, the enjoyment, I have to enjoy this one, I am missing that one, that mood is actually registered in our mind. So that's why when anybody asks, what is your desire? Immediately it will come out. I want to do that. I want to enjoy this. I want to attain this. All these things will come. Okay. So if we get a higher taste, then we won't actually wait for these material things. Param drishtva nivartade. Once we get a higher taste. So how can we get a higher taste? By practicing. Okay. By practicing, having the taste of doing devotional service to the Lord, then automatically that higher taste will remain in our mind and senses. Then by the mercy of Krishna, it will be successful. Okay. So any points to share, or shall we move on to the next sloka? Okay. Text 31. Who wants to read, Mataji? Anyone wants to read 31?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhu, please continue.
Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubha asashubhat dikshayaivaso gata yudashramaha nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibramam tashtavaja sustvavajanyam visrujan janardhanam.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna
Prabhu.
Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone can read the translation?
Hare
Yes,
Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting his material body. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. So, can anyone read the purport?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, yes,
Purport.
Mataji.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The material body is a gift of material energy, technically called illusion. Identification with the material body is due to forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord. For a pure devotee of the Lord like Bhishma Deva, this illusion was at once removed as soon as the Lord arrived. Lord Krishna is like the sun, and the illusory external material energy is like darkness. In the presence of sun, there is no possibility that darkness can stand. Therefore, just on arrival of Lord Krishna, all material contamination was completely removed, and Bhishma Deva was thus able to be transcendently situated by stopping the activities of impure senses in collaboration with matter. The soul is originally pure, and so also the senses. By material contamination, the senses assume the role of imperfection and impurity. By revival of contact with the Supreme Pure, Lord Krishna, the senses again become freed from the material contamination. Bhishma Deva attained all these transcendental conditions prior to his leaving the material body because of the Lord's presence. The Lord is the controller and benefactor of all living beings. That is the verdict of all Vedas. He is the supreme eternity and living entity amongst all the eternal living beings. He alone provides all the necessity for all kinds of living being. Thus, he provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of his great devotee Bhishma Deva, who prayed as follows. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So here it says that Vishuddhaya Dharanaya Hata Subhas Hata Ashubhaha. So here the presence of the Lord is compared to the presence of the sun. Whenever the sun rises, automatically we can feel it by the presence of light. Similarly, when the Lord presents, automatically all the inauspicious things will be washed away. So here also, by the presence of the Lord, whatever present inauspicious things in his mind and in the senses, whatever dust remains, all will be actually cleared by the presence of the Lord. And the word Vishuddhaya indicates that he is purified already. Shuddha, Vishuddha. Vishuddha means it is actually above the three modes of material nature. So he is already, his senses and mind attained the transcendental status. Dharanaya, how he attained the state? By meditating. So in the yoga process, in one of the stages, this Dharanaya. Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyagara. So in that Dharanaya will come. That is the sixth stage of this Ashtanga Yoga. So this meditation is important. it is actually difficult to meditate on the Lord, because if we are not actually practicing this meditation throughout our life, then it is difficult to actually meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, but Bhishma Deva, he was a pure devotee of the Lord, so he easily attained that stage. Because when we are actually talking about, when the discussion was going on between Arjuna and Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says that it is difficult to actually control the mind. It is because after the Ashtanga Yoga, in the 6th chapter, Arjuna says that it is difficult to control our mind. How can I actually focus on one subject matter? It is very difficult. So, if Arjuna says like that, what about us? How can we actually focus on the form of the Lord? So that the process is also mentioned again in the 6th chapter. The Lord actually recommends us that in 6.26. Better I will go on to that one. It will be helpful for all. It's such a nice verse in 6.26. See, the Lord says that from whatever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must certainly withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So, this is possible for everybody, because we are experiencing every day when we are doing our chanting, or when we are actually hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, when we are hearing some lectures or shastras, our mind sometimes actually wanders here and there. It actually withdraws from this subject matter and it will go somewhere else. So we have to actually bring it back. Why it is actually goes away? That is the nature of the mind. Its flickering is the nature of the mind. So it's unsteady. That is the quality. So we have to bring it back under the control of the self. So this is such a nice verse. Yato nishchalati means agitated. The mind is always manas chanchalam astiram. There is no stiram. The mind is not actually stiram. Tatastato niyam yaitat atman eva vasam nayet. So we have to actually practice these things, bring it back under the control of the self. So that is important. Okay. And Vishuddhaya. So he can actually able to control his mind and senses. Immediately he actually withdraw his senses and mind and he focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because he is a pure devotee of the Lord, it was possible for him and he practiced for a long time. So that practice is important. Then what is in the next line? It says that Tat ikshayaivasu gata yudastramaha. Immediately from the arrows, okay, actually the arrows like it will automatically gives lot of pain. If you are actually lying in the arrow bed means, then surely he is actually experiencing lot of pain. All that pain will be clear up by Lord Sri Krishna. Okay. And Nivritta Sarvendriya Vritti Vibramas. So being widely engaged. So during his lifetime, he was engaged in different types of activities. So all these activities are actually registered in the mind, no? So whatever we are actually enjoyed, the talents, the experiences, everything is actually registered in our mind. So all those material things will be cleared up. Tushtavajanyam Vishrujan Janardanam. And he actually relieved from all these material obstacles, or he quit away all those material thoughts. And he was simply focusing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead while quitting his material body. Okay. So Bhishma Deva was thus able to transcendentally situated by stopping the activities of the impure senses. So it is actually easy for everybody if you are practicing in our day-to-day life. Trying to, as mentioned in the 6th chapter, if you are trying to control our mind, if you're trying to actually bring it back our mind while we are doing our sadhanas, and while we are actually hearing when we are actually following certain austerity, if you are practicing like that, then automatically it is possible for the devotee to actually bring it back at the time of death also. Because the soul is originally pure, and so also the senses. The original nature of the senses and the soul is naturally pure. But because of our material engagement, they becomes contaminated. Okay. So if we actually try to purify our Sansheto Darpana Marjanam by continuous chanting of the holy name and try to bring it back the mind, then the process will be successful. So this is a verdict of the Vedas. He is a supreme entity and living entity among all the eternal living beings, and he alone provides all necessities for all kinds of living beings. So he will actually clear the obstacles. Whatever the obstacles are there, he will actually clear up the obstacles. Thus, he provided all facilities to fulfill the transcendental desires of his great devotee. So, the Lord is actually ready to provide all the facilities to every one of us. He is ready to provide all the facilities. So, what should be there in our side? From our side, what is actually recommended or what is expected? The strong desire. The strong desire to back home, back to Godhead. If we have a strong desire, then automatically we will practice during our lifetime. So when we are practicing the devotional service during our lifetime, then it will be helpful at the end of our life also. And how it is possible? How can we actually develop that taste to practice devotional service? For that, we need the love and affection towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Premanchana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. So, Bhishmadeva has that love and affection. So, he achieved, it was actually possible for him to achieve that desire. So, we should actually develop that love and affection towards the Lord. So, let us move on to the next verse, 32. Anyone can read
Mataji,
it?
I will read,
Yeah.
Mataji.
Yes.
I will read the sloka.
Yes, Madhuri. One person can read the sloka.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I?
Text 32. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Matirupakalpita Vitrishna Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhuni Shvashukamupagate Kvachid Vihartum Prakritimupeयुषि Yadbhava Pravaha.
Thank you, Madhuri. So nicely recited. You sang very nice. Okay. Can anyone read the translation?
Yes,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Yeah, Madhuri. Please proceed.
Hare Krishna.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Bhishma Deva said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone can read the purport?
Hare Krishna. Shall I read Mataji?
Who wants to read Sudha Madhya or Padma? Padma Mataji? Yeah.
Yeah, Mataji. Shall I read?
Yes, continue.
Hare Krishna. Because Bhishma Deva was a statesman, the head of the Kuru dynasty, a great general and a leader of Kshatriyas, his mind was strong over many subjects, and his thinking, feeling, and willing were engulfed in different matters. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. He is described herein as the leader of the devotees and all-powerful, Although Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, he himself descends on earth to bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. He descends sometimes as Lord Krishna, as he is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. Both are leaders of the pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Satvata. The Lord is the chief among such Sattvatas. Vishwadeva, therefore, had no other desires. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita by the Lord himself that he gives his instructions from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. Bhagavad Gita 10.10. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord not only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but he never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. That's a difference in dealing by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non-devotee. He is leader of all the living beings. As a king of the state, rules both the prisoners and the free citizens. But his dealings are different in terms of devotee and non-devotee. Non-devotees never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case. Although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad, the devotees are above this material goodness and badness. They are progressive on the path of transcendence, and therefore they have no desire for anything material. The devotee also knows Sri Krishna as original Narayana because Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary portion, appears as the Karnadaksha Vishnu, the original source of all material creation. The Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and for them only the Lord descends on the earth and enlivens them. The Lord appears out of his own will. He is not forced by the conditions of material nature. He is therefore described here as the Vibhu, or the Almighty, for he is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madam. So, this is such a nice verse. Bhishma Deva's prayer starts from this verse. Yitimatir upakalpita vitrishna. So, thus, mati means thinking, feeling, and willing. Upakalpita, invested. So, let my thinking and willing, where to invest? About the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Freed from all sense desires. So, he is fully knowledgeable. He knows that if the mind and senses are engaged in different subject matters, then we can't actually achieve the right destination. So he is very clear to attain the right destination and determined. This vairagya is important. We may have a lot of desires. We want to go there, we want to do it. We have a lot of desires. So, but if we have different desires, it's difficult to actually attain the goal. With one pointed attention is important. That is also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. So here he wants to focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He wants to focus, engage his mind, thinking, feeling, willing, everything on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swasukam upakate kvachit vihattum. So, swasukam, self-satisfaction. The nature of the soul is actually, he wants to engage in the service of the Lord. That is the nature of the soul. By doing that, automatically the soul will be satisfied. Okay. Upakate, unto who has attained it, kvachit, sometimes, vihattum, out of transcendental pleasure. Because that one actually really gives the real happiness. Okay, because everybody is seeking happiness, but the right mood of achieving the real happiness is thinking, feeling, and willing, doing according to the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that will give transcendental pleasure. Prakritim upeyushi yadbhava pravahaha. So this whole material world is created for what? To fulfill the desire of the conditioned souls. So Krishna has given all these facilities to actually fulfill the desire of the Lord. And he also given the Vedas for what? To understand the purpose of our life. Okay, the purpose of our life is actually, he is actually keep on insisting that through his representative and through the Vedas, dharmastu saksham bhagavat pranistam. So through his words, through the Shastras, he is always actually giving the reminder that this material world is temporary. Don't engage yourself or don't involve in it more. So he is keep on actually reminding through his representative also, various acharyas are actually reminding that this material world is dukkalayam asashvatam. So if we are actually engaging our mind and senses more into these material subject matters, then automatically we can't actually focus on the right destination. So that one-pointed attention is important. So our desire, the righteous desire of back home, back to Godhead, achieving or attaining the back home, back to Godhead should be very strong, determined. Here he is very much determined. So even though he still previous time, till few hours before, he was engaging his mind in various subject matters, he was talking about different subject matters, he immediately withdraw all his senses and mind from the material subject matters and wants to engage fully on the transcendental form of the Lord. So the purpose of various pastimes, why Lord actually descend to this material world? In order to actually talk about his subject matters. So when he was actually discussing about the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, so actually these desires are created by, which one is actually creating these desires? We are talking about different types of desires. So where it is created? Because through
In the
our
mind.
words we are, yeah, Mataji.
Mind. In the mind, Mataji.
Okay, so the mind is the culprit, huh? The mind is
Yes,
actually,
Mataji.
okay. So the mind is producing different desires. So which one actually guide us or tells us this is the right desire, this is the wrong desire?
Intelligence.
Intelligence.
The intelligence has to tell. If the intelligence is sitting quietly, then which will actually dominate?
The mind will dominate.
Mind
Senses.
will dominate.
The senses and mind. The senses will dominate. Yeah, mind has a desire. The senses will dominate. Actually, which should be in the higher position? The intelligence should be in the higher position. And higher than that is the soul.
Soul.
Yeah. So the intelligence should be in the higher position. If our intelligence is covered by this material attraction and this material subject matter and this material object, then automatically the senses will dominate. So the 10 senses will actually take us to the different path. So here it's given that pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord. It doesn't mean that they are desireless, but their only desire is to serve the Lord nicely. Anya bilashida sunyam. Jnana karmadi hanavritam. Anukulasya krishnanu. Sevanam bhakti richate. So this is the quality and mood of the pure devotee. Because desireless is not possible, but we should actually develop the desire to serve the Lord nicely. Okay, so therefore they are called sattvada. Okay. Then again, unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. If you are not purify our material desires, then Lord cannot actually guide us. If we want the right guidance, if we want the Lord to be our guide, then we should actually remove our anarthas. We should actually purify our consciousness. That is also the process is recommended. What are the rules we have to follow to purify our anarthas? Okay. Lord himself actually says in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10. This is another important verse in the Chatur Sloka. What is that?
Mataji, aham sarvasya prabhu matas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajate buddhatavat samajata prana.
But
Tesham sarvayuktanam bhajatam
yeah, here 10.10 what you say is right. But the instruction from within the heart of the pure devotee, where it is given?
Machitta mattada prana bodhayanta paraspara.
No, the next verse.
Tesham tataduktanam bhajatam priti purvakam
Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Yeah. So the Lord will actually give the guidance. The Lord will instruct us. When? To whom he will instruct us? Tesham evanuham partam. Those who are actually engaging themselves in continuous, constant devotional service. Aham ajnana jamtamaga. He will give the knowledge. He will remove the ignorance and he will give the knowledge. And he will actually ready to guide that person. Okay. Such instruction.
That's the last verse, no?
That's the last one. And the third one, he is telling that he will give buddhi. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. So he will give the right knowledge. Yenamam upayantite. How can we actually reach the righteous destination? That knowledge and guidance will be given by the Lord himself. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but for only going back home, back to Godhead. So, if we really want to achieve the right destination, we should actually focus our mind and senses with one-pointed attention. We should actually try to develop the right desire to serve the Lord. That is the righteous desire. So, these are the simple niyama or rules given to purify our consciousness. Okay. Hare Krishna. Any points to add? Any questions? Anything to add?
Hare Krishna,
Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Mataji, in simple thing.
Hmm.
So how we have to practice then? So regarding what we were doing, we were chanting, we are hearing classes, and we are maximum we were try our best to in Krishna consciousness by doing all services, all work. We used to little bit we are doing that.
Yeah.
Much more. How we can be able to involve much more than this from Mataji in regular courses?
Simply by following the instructions of our spiritual master and the instruction of the Lord is more than enough, Prabhu. We not to actually engage in more activities. Whatever the activities, there are actually 5 rules which help us to attain this stage. This is recommended in the Nectar of Devotion. There are 5 important rules. Yeah, Marji, Archana, Marji, you want to say something?
Mataji, I have another question. After Prabhuji's question, I will ask.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So there are 5 things we have to follow regularly in our day-to-day life that will help us to achieve the right destination. The first one is chanting. We should actually chant the recommended rounds qualitatively. That is a basic thing, chanting. What is the next one?
Sadhu Sangha. Books, reading scriptures.
Yeah, association is important. The third one?
Chanting.
Chanting we said. That is the first one is chanting. Second one is association. What is the third one?
Sadhu
Sadhu
Sangha.
Association is Sadhu Sangha only, Mataji. Association, it's given already. It's already told.
Prashadam, Mataji, diet, Prashadam.
The D is for other thing. Prashadam as well as deity worship.
Deity worship, yeah.
Okay, that is 3. Then what is the other thing?
He is
Residing in a holy
engaging in
place.
Krishna service, Mataji, or Egadeshi. I think both comes for each.
Okay, because of the time constraint, I will tell all the 5 things. Please list it down.
Mathura
The
Nivas,
first
Mathura
one
Nivas.
is 1
Residing
minute.
in a holy
The first
place.
thing is chanting.
Okay,
Second
Mataji.
one is reading.
Aso-
Reading means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam or read Srimad Bhagavatam. That is the main thing. Okay. First is chanting. Second one is hearing and reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Third one is association. Satsanga is important. Fourth one is deity worship. We should always get darshan of the deity. If you are having deities at home, then you will automatically worship the deities regularly by actually, as we discussed, we should actually remember the form of the Lord in our mind. That will help us. So the fourth one is deity worship. And the fifth one is residing in Dham, means favorable atmosphere. We should try to reside near the temple with the devotees. Okay, that will also help us. So these are the 5 favorable atmosphere or favorable facts that will actually help us to attain this righteous path. Okay, is it clear? Chanting, reading, association, deity worship, and the fifth one is residing near the temple or residing the dham. Okay. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes, Mataji. Archana Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Actually, I'm not having doubt about this session. Previously, when we were having Kunti Stuti and all that, the speakers were telling we have to try to recite it every day. So, if we are reciting Kunti Stuti, there is one verse in that where Kunti Maharani says, it is very famous verse because she want the problems again.
Vipata
Only
Santuta
then God will
Shashvat
be
Tattva Tattva Jagat Guru.
So she wants it again. Only then she says, you will be with us. God, Lord Krishna will be with us so that our problems are solved and we are not feeling that problem as very heavy. So I need all those problems again and again in my life. That is what she mentions in that shloka, Mataji. But when we are reciting that, actually we are also asking God to have the same problems again. Is it not coming in that? So I have a doubt when we are reciting that, should we recite that shloka and all that? And when we are reading Kunti Stuti every day, that shloka, when I'm having a doubt, Mataji, I'm very much doubtful. So even I am not that much bold to say I need the miseries in the past again.
Yeah, yes, I understood. So that's what in one of the lecture, it is recommended that, yeah, even though she is a great devotee, she is ready to face all the challenges because the Lord was with them always. So she wants to actually make the Lord to stay with them always. So she is praying like that. It doesn't mean that we also actually wants to get the problems, because we can actually say that when we are facing any simple problem, little headache also, immediately it will actually take us out from our sadhanas. Immediately we want to cut down our services. Am I right? So these problems actually won't help us. So we are not that much elevated level to actually ask more problems to the Lord. So instead of actually asking or praying for a lot of problems, we can pray to the Lord that I want to continue my devotional service without any interruption. So please, Lord, shower your mercy to continue my devotional services. That should be our prayer. That should be our mood, Mataji. Okay?
Thank you, Mataji. So, Mataji, when we are reciting this Kunti Stuti, when we are reciting all these shlokas, in between only this comes. So,
Yeah.
we can we recite what she's saying as it is? So, is it
No,
any...
you can actually, there are a lot of prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lot of prayers are there. Dhruvastuti is there. Gajendra Moksha is there. Lot of prayers are there. demigods are praying, they are actually requesting the knowledge and strength to actually do their services. So you can recite other prayers. And if you specifically want the Kunti Stuti, yeah, you please leave out that this thing and continue the other verses. Okay.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
I think the host is going to stop the Zoom. Yeah, please. Yeah, quickly, Madhi.
Oh, okay,
Mataji, short
Mataji.
question, Mataji, one short question. Now, when they say
Yes.
meditate on the Lord, now when chanting also they are saying no, don't think of the Lord's form, just hearing. Pay attention on hearing. Maha mantra, right? So now when we have to concentrate on the Lord's form, which form do we actually concentrate? Meditation. It's a bit confusing, Mataji.
No, there's no confusion. You can actually think any form of the Lord. Any form of the Lord.
Because what they said is because we don't know really the real form of the Lord, no? There are so many there. We don't know really exactly.
No,
That's what we heard
they are all
recently.
real forms. They are actually ever existing, eternally existing in the spiritual world. So all the forms are real. We will actually, why they are recommending hearing and chanting is automatically when we are doing this process, hearing and chanting, it purifies our mind and it will actually help us to develop the attraction towards a particular form of the Lord. Then automatically we will get attached and attracted towards some particular form of the Lord. So automatically that thing will come. So first we
Okay.
have to actually practice with hearing and chanting, not with the closed eyes. Again, you should actually open your eyes and see the
Yes,
form
yes,
of the Lord,
Mataji.
any form of
Yes.
the Lord.
So we
You got
can concentrate, think of Madan Mohan or even
Yeah,
any
yes.
form, Shyam Sundar from Gopinath, anything.
Any form, yeah.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Girdhar Gopal here. Mataji, I've put
Yes.
my question. If you have time, it's a bit long question. If you have time, can you please read that and respond, Mataji?
Where it is, Prabhu, in the chat box, okay? How do
Yes,
we
Mataji,
refute
in the
the
chat.
argument? That certain section of people say that I'm happy in this world. God has given everything to lead a satisfied life and I have not done any known sins to suffer in my next birth. I'm happy to take rebirth, having seen my current birth in human form, which is the highest. This human form has been given to me because of my good deeds. Okay, so see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says that taking birth is not a problem. It doesn't mean that we should actually back home, because he says that Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Tvayi. Okay, even though we are taking birth in this material world is good, but what mood should be there when we are taking birth, whether we are human form or in any planet, we should continue our devotional service. Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Tvayi. That should be our mood. That is right, yes. Okay, and would have been good. Okay, if I take a human form, I am not going to remember anything of my current life in next birth. How can we say we don't remember? Because some people, they are suffering under these past memories. Because of that, they couldn't actually lead a happy life or peaceful life in their present situation. If you actually check in the past times or thinking of the people, some people, they are actually undergoing this problem. Am I right, Prabhu? My life birth after birth will only become better. I'm happy doing devotional service birth after birth. Why should I focus on God at the time of death, and why I should think of going back to Goloka? Okay, this material world is designed in such a way that it always has ups and downs. This is Dukkalyam Asashvatam. So maybe because of our past good deeds, we may have a good atmosphere or favorable atmosphere in this lifetime. But there is no guarantee that we will get the same favorable situation in our future life. Okay, that is also mentioned in the Shastras. Then the Shastras says that we all are actually the real dham, the real house, the real home of each living entity is the spiritual world. We all are part and parcel of Krishna. So whenever we are actually going for work or for working purpose, we are actually going to travel to some other place, automatically we have to come back to our hometown. Similarly, this material world is temporary. So And if there is no guarantee that it will always favorable to our, according to our likes and dislikes. So these changes will come. So because of our past deeds, we are actually doing or having the favorable situation. Once our pious deeds are over, we have to actually face the other sources also. So there is no guarantee, because the nature of the material world is dukkaliyam asashvatam. So it is actually better to back home, back to Godhead. If we are actually getting the next life also, we should have the mood that we should actually continue our devotional service. For that, we need the mercy of the Lord. Without His mercy, we won't get the services in our next life. Is it agreeable, Prabhu?
Hare
Is it
Krishna. Thank you,
accepted?
Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So, thank you so much.
That means, Mataji, for us to come into Krishna consciousness, we have done some pious work in our previous birth, or maybe before that, in some of the previous
Not
births.
only pious deeds, Prabhupada says that without His mercy, we can't continue or survive in this Krishna consciousness. So it is all
Yes,
by
so
the grace
because
of
of
the
them,
Vaishnavas. Yeah, by the grace
yes,
of the
because of their mercy,
Vaishnavas. Yeah.
that's why we are coming to Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, we were surviving because of the Vaishnavas.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhus and Matajis. So let us finish our